Hello, Tracy. How are you today?
Hey, Pat. I'm good. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about yourself and what's going on at 4-H and everything.
Sure. I'm Tracy Newton. I currently reside out in the rural area of Sanger. I grew up in the South Valley in a community called Traver.
Oh, yeah.
Very small community,
very small.
rural. Many years ago, obviously, school, kindergarten through 8th grade, enjoyed the environment of that rural area. Lots of best friends were from the farming communities as well as farm laborers. So I've got a very good background with the underserved areas and communities, having grown up in that myself. I went on to Kingsburg as high school and found my way to working through Sun-Maid Raisin for a short time.
Oh, yeah.
Went on to land in the field of dentistry and completed about 20 plus years in the dental field.
Oh, okay.
All of the while the entire time serving in the 4-H program as a volunteer leader with my children out in the Sanger area.
Is that right? So you've got how many years you started, 20 years ago? Is it?
I was a 4-H youth at the age of about 10 to 12 down in the Kingsburg area, and became a volunteer with the 4-H program in 2003 and served for 12 years as a volunteer club leader, project leader, and now I find myself as the Fresno County 4-H program coordinator, the only paid staff person in the county, directing the program of 4-H here in Fresno County.
Yeah, you've got a very big job. I mean, there's a lot going on here. I like I said, I briefly went through the internet and did some searching and everything on 4-H. And 4-H started like in the late 1800s, like 120 years ago.
Yeah, we are just about 120 years in existence now. Part of the land grant university system, where they were taking higher education out into the rural areas. The University of California Cooperative Extension has 4-H programming in virtually every county in California at this time. Fresno County itself chartered their first Leaders Council in 1956.
Wow.
So we developed 4-H here locally in 1956, and we've been going strong ever since.
Yeah, I remember in the 70s, I think Fresno's population was like 60,000, and that was Fresno, not at the outskirts.
Right.
It was like nothing there. Yeah, I saw that, and it's in every county, is it?
Yes.
I mean, there's like 60 some counties in Fresno. I mean, in California. Yeah, in the state alone.
There may be 6 or 7 who don't currently have 4-H programming, but it's a small number.
So, and then you report to who? Is there an outlining?
Well, we're an extension of the University of California's Ag and Natural Resources.
Fresno State.
So you'll know Ag and Natural Resources through the University of California.
Okay.
So the UC systems, which consists of, I believe, 10 campuses and then multi-layers of cooperative extension services. So that's where it comes. We are under the umbrella of UC California. However, we're a part of Ag and Natural Resources specifically, which runs the Master Gardeners program, the 4-H Youth Development, the CalFresh Nutrition program, as well as multiple farm advisors with various specialties like soils, crops, irrigation.
Yeah. How do you organize all that? I mean,
I stay very focused on our 4-H program.
Yeah.
Which I've got currently 19 active clubs throughout the county. So our clubs stretch from Coalinga up to Sierra High School, Kingsburg, and then North Fresno. So it's
okay. So you're in charge of all those. Wow. How many kids?
Well, prior to COVID, we ran with about 800 kids. Was a strong, good number for us. 20 years ago, that number was probably 1,500, but it's dropped off some over the years.
Yeah.
COVID, of course, took a toll
Sure.
on us.
Yeah.
Any hands-on experiential learning program was going to suffer through that
The
time.
poor kids.
So we dropped to about 300 during the peak of COVID.
Oh, man.
And now currently we're back up over 700.
Cool.
So coming back
Yeah.
in numbers.
So usually you have, let's call it an average of 800 kids in 4-H in your district, or I don't know what you would
Our
call
county.
it. Your county. Yeah. Every year.
Yes.
Wow,
Yes.
that's a huge number.
Yeah.
I mean, that's bigger than a graduation of like Buchanan or something.
It's
I
a
think
pretty-
they got about that much or something.
Pretty good size number. Yeah.
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 You know, most of the people that I've talked to that are leaders in the agricultural group attended 4-H
Right.
and went like, you're talking
Right.
about. So you probably know a lot of them, that went through the Fresno State thing.
Yes.
And
yes.
the way they explained it to me is they went through 4-H and did all the programs, and then went into Fresno State and went, man, I did all this in 4-H
Right.
already.
Yeah.
Practically.
Yes.
There's a lot of academic, I know, at Fresno State and everything, but
Right.
there
Yeah,
was a lot.
There are vast components to our program that cover everything from, project skill
Right.
and development based on the projects of their interest that
Yeah.
they pursue, whether it's livestock, agriculture, science, and then the element of leadership development,
Yeah.
public speaking, community service.
That's
All of
fantastic.
these things are components that
Yeah,
just
what's neat,
produce great kids
Which-
with
which-
great skill.
what I really liked about it is you use kids to teach kids
Yes.
by doing.
Yes.
And by them showing them how to do it, rather than sitting up on a whiteboard or a video or
Right.
something saying this is how you do things. I never learned like that. I always learned by doing. You
Yeah.
have to show me how to do it,
Right.
and then I know exactly how to do it. But I was a 50-50 kid in school about just the chalkboard stuff,
Yeah.
And it was chalkboard back when I was a
Oh,
kid.
absolutely.
I don't know about you.
I'm
and
there
everything.
too.
Yeah. I saw some really cool stuff. I mean, you guys have a motto to make the best better.
Right.
And then you have a slogan, learn by doing,
Mm-hmm.
and a pledge.
The pledge is
As a
is-
true 4-H member, I pledge my head to clear thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, my health to better living for my club, my community, my county, and my world.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And that's what we produce is young people growing into adults who are
Productive.
very productive citizens.
Yeah. And then what I saw was the projects, arts and crafts, camping, backpacking, citizenship, clothing and texture, service learning, guide dogs. I was involved real heavily with guide dogs. Computers. I mean, you guys do everything. Animal work, science. I even saw you guys do archery, trap shooting. You do, all these great outdoor services.
Yeah.
And at what cost?
Well, project costs are simply whatever it is to start the project. So if you're going to be in a livestock
For the
project
individual.
for the individual, if
Okay.
you're going to join the meat goat project
Right.
and you're going to purchase a goat, that cost is absorbed by the member. But the experiences and the knowledge and the resources that we offer, there is no charge for that.
Yeah.
And in something like a leathercraft project, you might have to invest in material for your project. But in terms of the skill, the resources, again, there's no cost for that.
Wow. Now, do you have a place, a facility where kids go to learn, or how does that work?
Well, the majority of our membership is structured as community clubs.
Okay.
So when I said there are 19 clubs,
Right.
I would direct a new family to explore the clubs that are accessible to them
Sure.
in their area and visit a club. One thing that we should probably emphasize is the fact that we are a volunteer-based ran organization.
Absolutely.
So every adult who's mentoring these youth, who's teaching project skills, who's leading as a club leader, they're all volunteering their time to
Right.
our program.
Now, do you have an issue with volunteers, or do you just? I mean, you probably have too many.
Well,
No.
sometimes I tell folks that volunteers can be the beauty and the thorn of our our program.
Yeah.
You know,
The beast
people
and the
come
beauty.
and they do have to go through some orientations and online trainings,
Oh.
about 3.5 hours worth of time
Yeah.
invested, as well as having a background check and a DOJ live scan completed. So we definitely want to keep our youth safe in all
That's great.
elements of the
so
program.
so you have the mentors, I'll call them.
Yes, yes.
They do they go through the Department of Justice. You don't run them unless they're 18 or older, probably.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't have anything,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you'd know who was doing it. And you coordinate all that?
I do.
Oh.
I work with all of our adult leaders. I try very hard to emphasize the expansion and the growth of the program, and that's very time consuming.
Right.
So when you have to also maintain all of the enrollment records and your business accounts obviously it costs some money to offer and run a program like 4-H,
Sure.
just in terms of the county level events. So within the body of those 19 clubs, each club will have its activities, and then each club will offer projects for which they've got a volunteer leader for.
Mm-hmm.
But all clubs are unique and different because they can only offer the topics that they've got a leader for.
Yeah.
So one club may have 18 volunteers and offer 18 projects, while another may only have 6. So you help to coordinate and provide resources in terms of club and project activities. And then we hold things at a county level. We have county level events each year, like a public speaking contest, which is called County Presentation Day.
Wow.
And the kids get to come forward and give demonstrations, presentations, impromptu speeches,
Right.
and have an opportunity to earn medals and awards.
Wow.
Very soon here we have an event called Festive Food Fair, and that's centered around cooking foods, baking, foods preservation, and all of the kids bring
I
out
may
their
need
entries. You may need to come serve as a judge
an
so
old
that you
guy.
can taste these things.
Yeah.
But lots of county level events, 4-H
Yeah.
fair, and various things.
The only my family, they're big agricultural, and I got into a different part of agriculture, but everybody they knew did 4-H, and I remember going to the fair with my family,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a big 4-H thing because the kids were there with the animals and everything, and you still do this to this day.
Absolutely.
And
County fair is a big
it's huge.
event for us and
Right.
for our youth. And in addition to county fair in October, we hold a small event in spring. Usually it's first weekend of May, and it's the 4-H fair. So it's similar to what you see happening at county level, but it's just for 4-Hers so that they have another opportunity during the year to show off their skill, knowledge, and enter their
Fantastic.
exhibits for a chance for awards and ribbons and things.
God. Yeah, I saw they do barrel racing. I saw something like that on the website.
Yep.
And so, are you involved with Clovis Rodeo at all? Or
Well, actually, the rodeo's been a great supporter of 4-H over the years,
Yeah.
and this year they've brought forth a phenomenal opportunity in the fact that they're offering a fundraiser benefiting our
Great.
program, and there's a Cowgirl Up luncheon happening March 19th. I believe tickets are sold out at this point, but
Wow,
all
already.
proceeds are going to
Yeah.
benefit 4-H. So they're a great supporter
Yeah.
of what we do, but our horse program generally runs through small private ranches, and having, for instance, this Sunday on the 27th, we have a horse play day for our kids that's happening where they're going to see some demonstrations of various disciplines and events that you can utilize your horse project for
Right.
and compete in, as well as just a fun day out on horseback for the kids. So
wow.
any element of raising animals and livestock, it really develops great responsibility skills and just a compassion for the animals and things.
Yeah. Well, can you run, let's say, a kid, get you in a scenario, first of all, this looks like a female type of a deal? I mean, is there more females than males?
I would say probably the ratio
Yeah.
is higher on the female side, but if you go out and you get involved in shooting sports and you're in riflery,
true.
shotgun,
Yeah.
archery, that's predominantly the males.
Yeah, then it kind of sways
yeah,
over.
yeah, it sways
I know.
ways.
Yeah, I know women like their horses.
They do.
Yeah,
They do.
They love horses.
The
the
Horse
power.
Project, although this year in the Fairmont Reedley Sanger area, we have a horse project, and with about 28 kids this year, of which about 6 were males, young boys.
Neat.
So that's
Neat.
good.
Yeah,
That's good.
now let's cut through a scenario. So I'm a little kid, and I want to take on let's say, a goat or a cow.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work?
Well, first I would refer the family to explore the various clubs that are listed on our website.
Uh-huh.
And when you go through that website and click a name of a club, for instance, Rural Route out in Riverdale.
Okay.
And so let's look at Rural Route's programming and what they offer. So
Right.
when you go into the website and access that club, you'll see a club flyer pop up.
Right.
And on the club flyer, you'll see all the projects they currently offer, what night of the month the club meets, who the club leaders are, and what their contact information is, so that that family can immediately contact the club leader and ask, when is your next club meeting, verify that the flyer dates are accurate,
Right.
and
So they
go out,
orientate
visit,
them.
observe,
Yeah.
meet that. If you wanted to raise a dairy heifer, then meet the dairy leader, speak with them, and get connected.
There is a lot of responsibility on raising a producing animal.
Oh, yeah.
Because I live up in Madera, and all the kids that I see them, they're always doing chores all the time because they own horses, cows, milk cows, dairy cows, slaughter cows, goats,
Yes.
and a whole host of other animals,
Right.
and they all go through 4-H, which is incredible. I mean, I've never seen anything so put together and so well organized as a program like this, and I've seen a lot. When I was a child, I grew up in a middle count. I mean, we were rural, and I don't know why and I asked my mom about that. She's pretty old and everything about 4-H, and why didn't I get involved in it or anything? She said it wasn't really something that we got involved with, and I was like, wow, But I was in inner city.
Right.
Is it more for an outer?
We actually have programming that is just across the board beneficial to all youth in all settings and communities, neighborhoods. But the underserved inner city areas is where we have the hardest time developing those clubs.
Right.
Because we need to first off have the volunteer leaders available and willing to come on board, take on the responsibility. Then we need to have a secured meeting location.
Right.
We have the majority of our established clubs currently have been established and chartered for probably 10 to 20 plus years, most of them.
Wow.
I have a few newer clubs, such as the Fresno Street Saints from the West Fresno Edison area, and the Royal Roots 4-H chartered club. That's my newest club. They're developing a location at the Zimmerman Boys and Girls Club here in Fresno, downtown. So we hope to see growth and outreach to bring in those inner city kids so that they can have an opportunity. And those clubs may be structured a bit differently than the rural areas because they may not have as many opportunities to raise livestock. But that doesn't mean that they can't have that learning opportunity and skill knowledge base of having the information brought to them and an opportunity to handle chickens and learn about poultry and egg production. So we can do those things if we just get in the right neighborhood and have the access to the adults to help bring it forward.
I didn't realize how big poultry was.
Poultry.
It's enormous.
Yeah.
I know how big dairy is because, the numbers and everything, but I never, until I talked to an academic at Fresno State, we did a podcast together, and I was like, geez. I mean, the stuff that she was telling me it was unbelievable how large poultry is.
Yes.
And how many billions of dollars.
Right.
Of everything that we do here in the valley. Yeah, God, I would just heavily suggest people get involved in 4-H, you
Yeah.
know, and like you said, contact their local people and everything. So these slogans, mottos, and pledges, do these kids, do they need to like memorize these and recite them and stuff? And
Yeah, when
yeah,
we have children join our 4-H clubs, as first year members, we offer a project called Beginning 4-H.
okay,
And in that project, we introduce them to the motto. We help them to memorize the pledge. The pledge is recited before every club meeting,
wow,
every county event.
yeah,
We have a summer camp program, and every morning we have a flag ceremony at summer camp where we go through our pledges. So we pledge to the flag of the United States first,
yeah.
and then followed by our pledge to the 4-H flag.
Excellent, excellent.
So,
Well, like I said, it was developed in the late 1800s. So
Right.
you've carried all those behaviors that the forefathers have adopted, which is excellent and everything. I'm just blown away by the whole thing. See, and then they have goals and programs and creeds, and then there's 1900. This is, I mean, it's just, sheep project, poultry projects. It goes on forever. And it says after the Smith-Lever Act was passed. That was a long time ago, in the 1914s
yeah,
or
that
something.
that was in the developmental stages of moving the program forward as the land grant university system.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it all by yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
I have fabulous volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
Our volunteer club leaders, the majority of them have children in the program
Yeah.
at the time, but those gems that I value so highly are those adults who stay on board after their youth and kids have grown and graduated and moved on out of the program. And I have probably a dozen adults who continue to serve in some capacity, even though their children have aged out of the program.
Wow.
So that's key for me.
You get to see the true goodness of people.
Absolutely.
That's what I think. This is all about seeing the true. This isn't about numbers or, computer hacking or whatever the kid, games or whatever. This is about outdoor, action, getting sunlight, and having a good time doing it.
Right.
The best part about this, from what I've seen, is these kids that teach kids. I mean,
Right.
that is an enormous benefit
Yeah.
in teaching.
The
in
leadership
education.
development component is really large. I mean, as young as the age of 12, the kids can serve in a capacity of a junior leader.
Right.
And then once they're 14 and up, it's considered a teen leader. And we bring the kids through with resources in developing their leadership skills.
Yeah.
But most importantly, just watching the nurturing and the building of relationships as they mentor those younger kids. And then those kids grow up and want to be what they saw and admired in the teenager when they were in the club,
Yeah.
who helped and assisted them. And they grow through their achievement ranks as well, which is a huge self-confidence builder. I've watched small young members come in and cling to their parents' legs and be shy of stepping forward to even say hello as a 7-8-year-old. And then they come about as a 12-year-old and become a flag bearer. And then soon they're older and they're wanting to run for club president. And they're confident and their speaking skills are just incredible. And
That's incredible.
it's like watching a flower blossom. These kids just develop.
Because you don't learn that in school.
No.
I mean, none of your actions or whatever. It's stuff that, I learned it because the way I grew up, but it's not like that anymore. And
Right.
you have to look for some outlet like 4-H in order to be able to blossom, like you said, and learn all these things that you don't learn in school anymore.
Right.
Or even
And your
close to.
athletics, those are great
Yeah, that's
extracurriculum
school.
as
Yeah.
well when you're on sports teams and things. But there's something just a little bit more in depth about coming into a program where you develop leadership skills
Yeah.
and mentoring with young members and achieving at a high level, whether it's
Sure.
county fair or a state horse show. We we can just go into so many directions with the
Right.
education and the development.
I myself, I started I was an athlete, in school, and then later in life, well, not later in life, but in my, when I was 16, I got my first car, and the next day I thought I was gonna, I was thinking, I'm gonna get the car, I'm gonna go pick up my buddies and go for a ride. And he comes in, and my dad's a farmer. He was, we own farms. And he said, what you doing? I said, hey, I'm going to go pick up Eric and Jim. We're going to go. And he goes, we're going to go out to breakfast. He said, come on. So early in the morning, we go out to breakfast at Klein's restaurant. We had breakfast when I was a kid. I was 17, almost 16 and a half. And he said, yeah, you know that car I bought you? I said, yeah. He goes, you're going to pay that off. I said, how? He says, come on. I said, where are we going? He says, your new job.
Oh.
New job. Right. What, he's like, so he drove me to the neighborhood gas station. He goes, this is your new employer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I went on like that. I mean, but when my son, he went to Clovis West, and he was a scholar, and he did really well. And I told him early on, I said, you've got to do something. Okay. You can't just go to school.
Right.
There's like 4-H or you have to go on and do something with yourself. And he picked debate, and he became really good debate. Then he became an attorney and all that, and it all fit in. But I highly recommend telling people and teaching people about 4-H programs, because it's incredible.
Yes. I often say we're a well-kept secret, and we don't intend it to be that way.
Yeah, you are.
It's not intended to be that way, but with no money for marketing, there's no funding for that. Therefore, it's just predominantly word of mouth,
right,
and friends inviting friends.
Yeah. Basically what I've seen, I pretty much knew it started with all these outskirts. So you have land and farming and everything. And it was like, I go to 4-H, you go to 4-H, we go to 4-H, and the inner city, like we were talking about, it kind of gets, their minds aren't set, on things like this. And
well, we're developing new ways of reaching those kids too. I mean, in addition to your community clubs, these traditional club structures, we are now exploring and growing with the concept of after-school programs.
Yeah.
Maybe the kids in the inner cities aren't able to get out to the local clubs, but we can come into the after-school program settings where the kids are already gathered, and we can offer some experiences in a short-term project of sewing or foods preservation or poultry education.
Right.
And we can come to them, and that's what we're trying to develop and grow, to bring that opportunity forward to these underserved areas or inner city kids where there may not be a club down the street because that club exists in the outskirts of the city limits, and it's hard to always get them there. But
that's a good idea.
If we can grow there, we've got some expansion now and new programming starting over in the Jane Addams School area.
Where's that?
That's going to be McKinley and 99.
Okay.
And Elena Pacheco is very active in working with our local 4-H program, both as a volunteer. She was in a special program of financial literacy for a time, and teaching through UC for that as well.
Sure.
But we know there's a need. We know there's a huge benefit. So it's just trying to find those areas where we can get some support, whether it's partnering with a existing Boys and Girls Club or an existing after-school program, but bring forth the introduction and the programming of 4-H into those settings as well.
Wow. Yeah. I was talking to a person about, he was a farmer, and he does a lot of nonprofit things and 4-H and stuff. And Ryan Jacobson, he's a Fresno.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
Yes.
And he was telling me about bringing food to kids that don't get enough food, and using 4-H and all this stuff. All these great ways of getting in touch with people, but you have to go to them and explain. And how does that going into the schools, how does that, who does stuff like that?
Well, again, it's just me.
Volunteer.
So
You do
it's,
that?
it's difficult to always take advantage of the opportunities that present themselves.
Because
and
of your schedule.
yeah, just being over impacted with things. And
Yeah, I know it took a lot to get you in here.
yes,
and
it did.
I really appreciate
apologize
that.
for the multiple
no,
rescheduling.
I knew that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I looked at that and I went, oh, she's overwhelmed.
Yeah,
you know? So yeah, and I always knew that. So that was.
But again, the great volunteers, they're the backbone of what we do. So, sometimes it's just finding the person who has the availability, and then me being able to give them all the necessary information, bring forth the resources, and just help them build the foundation for becoming a volunteer.
Yeah, you're the manager. You manage everybody, and that's incredible. I mean, so how do you guys? I mean, how does 4-H? Okay, so you have to be paid. I mean, you're a nonprofit and everything.
Right.
That doesn't mean the money flows through the trees and drops off the clouds. It means you got to hustle and go get it. How do you do that?
Well, this position that I hold as the only paid staff for the county program, it had been funded fully through the UC A&R budget, which flows from our governor and down through the UC system. And about 4 years ago, there was some flat budgets and years of, they didn't want to qualify it and quantify it as cuts per se, but the budget was flat, and therefore we saw cuts to our funding at the program representative level, which is what I hold.
Okay, so this comes, it's not a city or county contribution. This comes from the state?
Correct.
Of California. This comes from Sacramento.
From the UC system.
From the UC system.
Out of the state of California.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. It doesn't make.
Yeah.
I mean, what does? I mean, stuff like this doesn't make sense to me.
Well, there is a partnership with the county on a level of the County of Fresno provides our facilities.
That's what I'm concerned about.
We're housed out of the UC Merced building, but the County of Fresno does support cooperative extension overall as a whole, and then of which 4-H is a part of that.
Yeah.
So there are benefits from county level.
Yeah, so you do get, does the city help you at all?
No.
Okay. That's a problem. They need to do that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're vying for inner city kids that really need this. There's an issue there. They need to step up. So county participates, but now what happened 4 years ago? They just ran out of money. They can't. We're the highest tax state in the nation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the way it was presented to us is that there was going to be a decentralization of funds for the program representative position, and that they could no longer support it 100%. So they were going to rely on local support, and some of my colleagues in places like Tulare County had the county step up and fully fund, and they became an actual county employee in Kings County and Tulare County.
The county
so
did that.
The county did that. And here we did get some help, but they weren't in a place where they were able to just completely fund the position.
Yeah.
So I'm still a UC employee. However, with the decentralization of funding, they restructured it to be a reimbursement of enrollment fees. So one thing we haven't touched on is the cost of the actual program.
Yeah, please.
And so for a youth to sign up in Fresno County 4-H program, it's $68 a child.
Okay, per year.
Per year.
Okay.
And then if you were involved in projects without any expenses, then there's no additional cost other than funding of your projects. So the funding used to go completely 100% to the state office.
Okay.
It flows from the youth paying their club, the club paying the county, and county sending all of that funding to the state. Then in turn, the state would pay to have a program rep for your county program. So they've now restructured to a point of, we're going to allow you to keep 75% of that fee, and that's not verbatim. I'm just giving you the example.
Yeah.
So they're allowing us to keep a portion of the fees but it has to be used to fund your program position for your staff person.
Okay.
So the problem being that funding based on enrollment money, COVID struck,
Yeah.
and enrollment numbers plummeted. So
Okay.
we
Now,
were
was that because of the county? I mean, enrollment. Oh, you mean people
no,
who
just
were afraid
people
to
who
do
were
things.
yeah,
It was
people
fear.
fear, and the fact that we were restricted of having in-person meetings and activities for a long period of time. We were limited to virtual online learning only, and with the kids being restricted to virtual learning in their classrooms, the last thing they wanted to do was come home,
Virtually learn.
virtually participate in 4-H.
Yeah.
So,
You're doing that in school. So
right.
What they want to do is they want to go in school in the classroom and get all frustrated and everything, and go outdoors and do things, right?
Yeah.
And that's what 4-H is about.
So when we opened back up, that's where we saw our numbers come back to life. But that decrease definitely affected the funding for the program
and that
position.
was probably for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Huh? And then now you're seeing it gradually, or is it coming back pretty good?
It's coming back pretty solid.
Good.
And much more promptly than we had feared it would. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I know the Visalia County Farm Bureau and the Kings County Farm Bureau. I do all the farm bureaus and everything. And they all talk up 4-H and everything, as a superior, teaching tool. And I think it is too. For $68, you can't go wrong.
Right.
The problem is transportation. I could see that.
Yeah, getting kids
where
they need to be.
To certain places where you meet. That would probably be the only issue there, and everything.
Right.
But as far as anything else goes, they cut your so they want you to what? Do more private earning?
Right. So there was a time where they were instructing us to be planning for fundraisers. We have never held a fundraiser in the county of Fresno for 4-H in its existence.
Is that right?
We have functioned over the years off of a very generous sponsoring committee who has an annual letter writing campaign, and many of the local businesses and community supporters might receive that letter annually asking for a donation to our nonprofit program, and it's generally produced somewhere between $16,000 and $20,000 a year.
Wow.
But there was a time prior to my coming on in 2016, where we had a new employee who was running the program and really struggling trying to understand the program, having no knowledge and background, and the many facets of what we do. It's just overwhelming almost initially. So our sponsoring funding dropped off to be about $11,000 a year for a couple of years there.
Wow.
So, but that's the programmatic money that pays for the ribbons and the awards and the facilities that we use, and all the things that we do, and offering our ambassador program and civic engagement opportunities to take part in things like California Focus, Washington Focus for civic engagement. There are lots of things that we offer.
Yeah, it really, to turn you into a money grabbing, that's not what you're all about.
Right.
And you never have been that way. And all of a sudden they said, hey, you got to go out and hustle for money. It's like, geez, how do we? You probably need a full-time person just to do that. I'm serious.
Yes, and
that
it was,
you manage again.
It was very discouraging for me for a period of time where I thought that I can't do this much longer if I have to
do both,
run the program and then supplement my own salary by seeking support or planning fundraisers, and then be the bookkeeper over those funds, as well as do all of my work, which I much prefer to be out with our clubs and our kids. And
yeah.
So with the recent increase in budget, though, the governor did increase substantially to the UC system. But our concern is how will that trickle down through the UC system of their 10 campuses and then the research centers throughout the state of California. Like out in Parlier, the UC A&R Research Center in Parlier. They've got, I believe, 6 or 8 of those throughout the state. So all of that additional funding starts at the top with UC campuses, then the UC Research Centers, and then we come down into the UC A&R division. And then you've got all your farm advisors, all of your nutrition programs, all of your master gardeners, food preservationists, and 4-H comes in somewhere down at the bottom.
Yeah, your hands out way at the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of interested in who's lobbying for you.
Well, we've got some great support through people like Ryan Jacobson and the Farm Bureau.
Yeah.
At state level, Farm Bureau was advocating strongly for 4-H.
Yeah, he's into it.
Whenever they first made the announcement of the funding cuts to the program staff, there was a county over in Salinas area where they were developing bumper stickers, "We love 4-H," and just, in any way they could, trying to support the program and bring awareness to what we were facing. We have great community support through people like the Clovis Rodeo Association and them hosting a fundraising event in March and all proceeds benefiting 4-H. We also are planning our first ever standalone event hosted by the Masonic Lodge of Sanger, actually, and the local chapters of the Masons, offering a fundraising dinner benefiting Fresno County 4-H.
Yeah.
So that's happening in June, on June 11th.
Good.
But community partners also with Chevron, having given us some grant money to offer STEM and science projects, as well as the Cashin Family Foundation.
Yeah.
The Newhall Family Foundation out of the West Valley area.
Yeah, the west side.
They've contributed an amount annually to help us where we fell short.
Great.
So thank goodness for our community supporters. And
well, yeah, Fresno County, they are the wealthiest farm. They put out the most farming. So, and then Tulsa's got the cows and everything, dairy, and Fresno 4-H should be probably a winner as far as I'm concerned and everything. So as far as that goes, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about, or is there any ways we can help you raise money?
Well, that event in June, that's a big deal for us. Having never had a fundraising event. Most of our local FFA chapters, they have annual parties, events, barbecues, of which I'm a supporter. I've got tickets to the Clovis event that's coming up this Saturday night. I've attended for Kingsburg, for Reedley, and here we find ourselves now where we need to host our own party, and with the partnership of an entity who can set up an adult-style event where you have alcohol and entertainment and music, and for the 21 and over crowd.
Sure.
So having the partnership through the Masonic Lodge, having them host the event with proceeds benefiting our program.
Now, do you sell tickets and do auctions and all that?
We will
good
do
stuff?
all of those things.
Yeah.
50-50 drawing, a dessert auction, live auction items. That's going to be held out at the Alley V venue, sort of southwest Fresno.
Yeah. Now, how do you get the word out? That's the whole point.
Well, we're going to rely heavily on social media,
of
course. I have a young lady. She's an alumni 4-H member by the name of Eleanor Cumming. And Eleanor's now an employee with Harris Ranch Beef.
Great.
And she's doing some great platform work in the form of social media and promotion.
Great.
And she's come on board to come back to the program that she grew up in and she loves, and she's willing to, offer her expertise and do some promotional marketing for us.
That's the good of people again.
Yes.
Coming back and doing and giving back what they got.
Yes.
And they don't have to do that. And,
right.
And there's so much to do right now because of the, downside, and we have to come up in our society, and everybody has to grow back again. And I imagine the kids I've seen some terrible things happen to the kids in education in the way, and they really need to, look about doing things.
Yes. And that's the other component for us, in addition to funding, is just having those adults who are willing to give a few hours a month to our program.
Right.
And maybe you've got a passion for woodworking and you have just a handful of woodworking tools at home. These kids would thrive and enjoy working under an adult mentor. Yeah. And we do have recently now with Elena Pacheco, her mother passed away some time back, and she's restored and refurbished her home near Fresno City College.
Uh-huh.
She's titled it Nana's House, and she's going to do some nonprofit work out of that
Sure.
home there. So we've got some locations that are coming to life here in Fresno area. Again, the Zimmerman Boys and Girls Club with the Royal Roots 4-H Club. So just for people to keep in mind that, you don't have to be the young parent of the kids who come into the program, but you might be the retired grandparent or someone who just finds some time on their hands and has a passion for a project and a topic that they'd like to pass a skill on to our youth. Then we'd love to get you signed up as a volunteer leader.
Yeah. The biggest skill that I see is the socialization.
Yes.
and the leadership. They're learning how to grow and be leaders in the community rather than just go to school and learn things and then go try to get a job and not know any of these social skills, which is probably 80% of doing something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, I appreciate you coming in and spending your time with me because I know your time's very valuable, and I saw that before. That's why I kept pursuing you because I knew. I said, wow, she's really overloaded and everything. So, I appreciate you, and I'll do whatever I can.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, I'll get the word out. I'll do a lot of marketing with this, and we'll talk to people and everything, and see if we can get you some more support.
That'd be great.
Okay,
that'd be great.
Okay, thank you
Fresno
very much.
County 4-H.
Yeah, how do we get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can Google Fresno County 4-H. That's what I tell most folks. I'm going to leave you with my business card with a brochure for our program.
Here, let me see that.
As well as one of our newest ventures is the Forever 4-H Endowment.
Uh-huh.
And through the California 4-H Foundation, they've given us the opportunity to start endowments in the counties at county level. So once we develop and grow our endowment in Fresno County to a place of about $500,000, we'll generate about $20,000 a year in revenue, which will fund the shortfall of what we need for the full-time package of a program staff.
What's this $25 million?
Well, that's the total amount of the endowment through the UCA&R program.
For the everything or
but
what?
Yeah, for everything.
Yeah.
So because it's such a large amount and we get to be a part of that large amount, it reaps great reward in terms of the annual percentage rates of revenue off of that.
So $25 million is the statewide.
Yes.
Okay.
But our goal at a program level for county, if in 6 years from now, if we can be at $1 million, it'll generate $40,000 a year revenue for the program.
So is that where you are? You're at
right
$1
now.
million?
We're just starting. We have $15,000.
Okay,
we are just starting our endowment.
You're supposed to be at $1 million.
We would love
budget.
to be. We would love to be
at $1 million budget.
$1 million in the endowment.
Okay, that would
programmatically
be a big goal.
For us to run our program is about $22,000 a year, and then the shortfall.
That's all?
Yeah, for the shortfall for the staff is somewhere around $13,000 to $20,000, depending on enrollment numbers.
Yeah. Well, then there's you're the only really paid employee.
Yes.
Of the whole thing. So there's your salary and everything, but that's nothing compared to everything.
Right. So this endowment, this Forever 4-H endowment, the concept behind that is, if we can grow the endowment to that point of $1 million, then we will be certain that regardless of what the shortfalls might be for your staff, we can pull it out of the revenue of the endowment.
Right.
And we'll be covered.
Well, it's money well spent.
Yes.
I mean, this is terrific. So people can get a hold of you through your website.
Yes,
Facebook.
The website. My direct phone at the office is 559-241-7525.
Okay.
I'm on email, tlnewton@ucanr.edu. And all of our contact information can be found right there on the website as well.
Well, good luck. And
Thank you, Pat.
Yeah. We'll wrap that up, and I'll see what I can help you with.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Uh-huh.
Bye-bye. Good deal.